Hello, everybody. Welcome back. I'm the Strategy Professor, and today we're going to be looking at the patch notes for 11.24. So, as always, if you enjoy the content, please be sure to like and subscribe. It really helps out a ton on the channel. Come by, check me out on Twitch, starting at 12 a.m. and usually going until about 3 a.m. Eastern Standard Time every night. So, we're no longer streaming on YouTube. We're only on Twitch. So, come by, check it out. The Strategy Professor on Twitch. Be sure to drop a follow if you enjoy the content. If you have a Twitch Prime laying around and you want to help support the channel, that's always great also. And you can follow me on Twitter, the Strategy Professor, at the Strat Prof on Twitter if you want some extra announcements whenever I release content. I don't post up, political commentary or silly pictures of food that I've eaten or any other nonsense. It's just an extra way to get notification when I release new content, just in case Twitch or YouTube don't give you those notifications. Twitter can sometimes come through. Okay. And be sure to stay tuned as well. I'm going to try to do a tier list for each role, each patch, 15 to 30 minutes. I'll release those about one per day, maybe two on some days about when the patch comes out. I know I had a bunch of people asking me if I would do mid lane tier list last time, and I didn't get around to it last week, but I should be able to do it this time. Okay. So let's go ahead and get through here. All right, so Kaitlyn, they are giving her partial auto attack resets. I know that some people were complaining about this. I can't remember his name. There's one guy, in Challenger that's a Kaitlyn one trick. I know there are probably a few, but one guy in particular in NA is kind of notorious for playing Kaitlyn. And the truth of the matter is, kind of like they say here, it was really hard to pull off some of these auto attack resets, and 99% of the population did not play Kaitlyn to be able to maximize that. And pro players don't play Kaitlyn very often in the meta. Because when she's really powerful, she's just too good. So she gets nerfed all the time because of her range, if she's ever, meta. So it's really just like the five guys, in Masters and Challenger that play Kaitlyn all the time that are affected by this. So it doesn't affect very many people. I will say on average that it is cool, like some of those different combos and reactions and the timings and stuff. It is fun when people, get a really high amount of mastery over a champion, right? Like, I think it's good to have high mechanical champions in the game. But this was gating what they could do to Kaitlyn, sort of what they're saying there, because the thing is, it was coded as a spell, as they explain here, instead of an auto attack, the headshot reset, so it bypassed a lot of kind of the weird safeguards where people can't auto attack like a billion times in a row, but you could do that with headshots because there was basically no cooldown on spells versus normal auto attacks have an auto attack timer on them. It's usually like half a second or more unless you get a lot of attack speed. But Kaitlyn was getting around that and being able to just like basically machine gun out, multiple headshots if you got your combos correctly in different situations. So it was just a mechanic in general that bypassed a lot of the rules and again made it very difficult to balance around her. So for example, they just could not give her a lot of extra damage on her Q. They couldn't make her traps do more damage. They couldn't do anything to her to empower her, because then those master players or the pro players would abuse that, and then they would have to, just nerf a bunch of other aspects of Kaitlyn. So pretty much in her current state, she is extremely difficult for 99% of people to find success on. And she's not used by pros. But after they nerfed her, then they can start giving her back power, and I hope they do that, where they can give her a little bit of extra attack damage, or they can, maybe make those snap traps do a little bit more damage, or the Qs, or whatever they want to do. They can now buff her because it's going to be safer to do that, so that, most people can play her and get a little bit more power out of her. Pro players might even be able to get a little bit more, like, standard power out of her without breaking her, and then the master level players can get a little bit of that power back. Although she will be weaker than she would have been, with perfect resets and all that kind of stuff. So I think this is a healthier way to do it. I think they should buff her a little bit to compensate for that. Just give her like 2 AD, give her the meme 2 AD buff and just see what happens, something like that. But they're giving her a partial attack reset. So it's basically just a nudge to those challenger people. Hey, we want you to still be able to one-trick Kaitlyn, pretty much. Because, again, nobody's going to do this hardly. So it doesn't matter for the vast majority of the population, but that's the explanation. I know a bunch of people who don't even play Kaitlyn were up in arms about this, but again, I think they're right. That's what you have to do to balance the champion. Even though you're taking away a cool mechanic, it's just, it was the same thing with Rakan, right? Like, that happened to Rakan. I didn't like that when I played Rakan a lot, and he was, super OP and badass. Now, that was a little bit different because Rakan was played everywhere in Pro, and he was hyper dominant in Pro because his R and W did not have a cooldown on it, right? It was basically like you could RW instantly. There was no buffer, and that was too strong of a mechanic. And so they had to make a choice. Do we just nerf the absolute hell out of Rakan, which is what they did at first? They made his W move like a grandma, where it's moving like, instead of 2100 speed, it was moving like 1400 or less. It was super, super slow, if you remember that era of Rakan. And then they decided, wow, that's really horrible. So what they did was they just took away that mechanic. It's not broken in the way that Kaitlyn's broken, but it's a similar thing where it was very, very abusable by high-level players. The R, basically instant W. They took that away, and then they were able to, by adding that half a second cooldown, and then they're able to rebalance him to make him still viable in Pro, but much better also at lower elos, right? So they gave him extra AP ratios on his W. I can't remember what else. I think they gave him higher base health. They gave him like 50 extra HP so he could survive trades earlier. So they just gave him all these stats to kind of compensate for that. And he's not as nearly as broken as he used to be at the highest level, but he's a lot more accessible at lower levels. And he's still fine. He's still very good in Pro. He's, much more well-rounded, like good pick in solo queue. It was a success. You also saw that with Gragas back in the day. If you remember, there was a mechanic with his barrel, like if you eat into them and stun them, the barrel was instant. It had no travel distance if it was very close to you. So then you could bump into them, and then instantly barrel and knock everybody back, right? And that was too strong in Pro play. It was a mechanic that was abused by the very top level that made his engage far too consistent. And so what they did was they ended up giving a little half-second mandatory travel time on that barrel so that people actually could flash it and get knocked back. And in exchange for that, I don't remember all the things, but they gave him other buffs in exchange for that. So now he's like a decent pick in some comps, and he has been since they did those changes. He wasn't as oppressive as he was, but he's been more accessible to more champions. So it's not like Kaitlyn's the first person they've made this call on, right? A similar thing with Azir over time, right? You got the Faker adjustments because he was way too strong for a while there, and now he was still pretty good and picked in Pro because they made a bunch of tweaks and adjustments that nerfed him for Pro but made him a little more accessible for solo queue. So I know Kaitlyn mains are mad about this, but it's like, join the club. They've done this to so many champions to try to make it more accessible to a lot of people. So again, not all those examples are exactly the same, but they all share that similarity where they're trying to take away some of the power of the 1% and, allow more people to play those champions at a decent level at lower levels. Okay, Camille definitely needed to be nerfed. I think pretty much everybody agrees. She's just way, way too strong. She's the best top laner, I think, in pretty much every elo bracket right now. She just scales too well with the item. She can still trade early. She has lockdown on the ganks. She just shreds through tanks, shreds through towers. She's difficult to kill when she has her shield plus Divine Sunder and all the other stuff that she gets. So they're nerfing her tactical sweep. Okay, she usually just gets 1 point in this, I believe. And then she maxes hook shot plus Q. So, okay, basically that's 1% with a little bit less scaling. Alright, that's fine. And you only cast that typically once per fight, maybe twice. So that's a minor nudge, I guess particularly in the early game. And then Hookshot itself, the cooldown is at max rank, it's 12 instead of 10. You already get a decent amount of ability haste, so that's not going to matter that much. I still think she's going to be super good. Because, it's like, okay, if the fight lasts for, with that ability haste, if the fight lasts for 8 seconds instead of 9 seconds, then she's not going to get a second hook shot off, in the fight. It's like, or maybe you have a chance to get away if she's chasing you, if you can, get over a wall at 8 seconds before she gets her hook shot back, and then 9 seconds. So there will be some corner cases where this matters, but I don't think it matters. They need to nerf her shield, or they need to nerf her damage on her Q. Because both of those are ridiculous. I believe, and correct me if I'm wrong in the comments, I believe the true damage on her Q procs with Sheen. I think. I know there are some champions that do that, but I think the Sheen damage also gets converted over to true damage. And why does that happen? Like, that's way, way too strong. And that's why you see late game after she has Divine Sunder, you see her, once she, like, procs that second Q, it just, like, absolutely deletes somebody. It's like 1,000 true damage or something, you know, and she gets to, like, 3 items. So, I don't know. They need to fix that. That should not apply to on-hit abilities on her Q. That would be a step 1. And then, you know, maybe nerfing, like I said, her shield a little bit. Or, you know, just nerfing some of the OP items that she gets. Although her items, to be fair, are a little more unusual. I think, doesn't she get, is it Titanic? It's like, it might be Ravenous. It's one of those items.
Can I flick it so I can sweep the baby this one?
Okay, go ahead. Hey, don't forget to brush your teeth, okay, before you,
I already did.
You already did? Okay, good. You got the toothpaste out all by yourself?
Yeah.
You sure?
Yeah.
Okay. Not sure. We'll have to double check that in a minute. But...
Would you like to sweep with me and baby sister?
Yeah, I'll come in there in just a little bit. Okay. So, yeah, so there are other things I would nerf about her before I nerf this. I think the true damage on the Q scaling with items is ridiculous. They definitely need to nerf that. Okay. Ivern, an interesting champion. He's not, like, horrible right now, but I guess he kind of is. He's, like, at a 48% win rate or something. But I like him. I think he should be in the meta. He's, you know, I really wish I could play him. He's hard to play, but he's a style of champ that I would really enjoy. And just kind of, like, from an RP perspective, he's, like, my spirit animal. I don't know. I just really like Ivern. I think it's hilarious that Tyler 1 got to Challenger playing Ivern because they have, like, polar opposite personalities. But anyways, so he's actually getting experience from Krugs. One of the biggest things if you play Ivern is whenever you remove the Krug camp, so whenever you do his little magic and eventually remove the Krug camp, you only get credit for the 2 big Krugs. So you don't get the medium Krugs or the small Krugs. So it's, like, far, far less XP and gold if you full farm than any other jungler who full farms. So you get a penalty on those as Ivern. So I don't know exactly how much of a difference this is, if means that you get the entire payout from the Krugs. If that's true, that's going to be a pretty big buff for him. A lot of Iverns just straight up skip the Krugs, and they'll just, like, gank or, like, do something else instead of doing the Krugs because they're not even worth your time. But now that's going to be a really big buff if he can get those, because he does scale really, really well. I mean, he's an enchanter, so he gets, like, these cheap items that are all, like, 2,300 gold, scales with plus healing and shielding. He's very good late game champ, I think, or at least in theory he should be. So yeah, I like it. Okay, Kayle, the distance of the waves from her basic attacks now scales with bonus attack range. Okay, so this basically means that lethal tempo is going to be far better on her. And if she gets Hurricane, I think that's probably going to be better as well. Because I think the Hurricane bolts only go as far as your basic attack range. I don't believe she typically gets Hurricane. I can't remember. She might. But if she does want to run Hurricane, then this would be a decent upgrade for her. So it's okay. I don't like Kayle's design in general. I know we had someone, like, donate for a Kayle support video. Thank you very much. But as far as, like, top lane Kayle, I just think she's too strong. I just don't like the champs that have to, like, when they get to 16, they're just OP. And that everything else before then is sort of whatever. Maybe it's just a personal preference. But I just don't like extreme situations as much. I'd rather stuff be a little bit more balanced. But anyways, I mean, she's balanced by the fact that you try to shut her down before she gets to 16. But I think she's okay right now. So this is a decent buff because the meta's slowed down a little bit. Gives her more time to scale. The Kled, this is so random. This is like the Aurelion Soul nerf. It's like, why? Who cares about this champion? Like, nobody plays Kled. Like, what is Kled's play rate right now? This is from 1123. Less than 2%? It's like nobody plays this champ. He's got an okay win rate, but it's like there are other champions that are, you know, present more pressing problems. Like, how about Vayne top lane? He's got a 54% win rate. Or Victor top lane. And also has a 15% play rate. I think that's just in the top lane, too. That might be... There's no way that's overall, because she's got to be more popular. No, I guess... Okay, so that includes... That includes her ADC. Wait, was I looking at main or top? Let's look at top. Okay, never mind. Never mind. Those were off. Vayne top is not played that often. But there are still other things. She does still have a 52% win rate. So it's like, yeah, Kled is all right? He's almost at 53, but again, it's like less than a 2% play rate. Camille is basically 53 with a 10% play rate. Mundo's almost 55. Kench is almost 54. Shen's almost 54. Like, there are so many champs here that have a higher play rate that are also, also have a pretty good win rate. So again, I don't have a personal horse in this race. I don't play Kled. I don't play with anybody who currently plays Kled a lot, but it's just really weird. Like, so what they're doing basically is they are increasing his health per level, but they're changing him to where his Skarl's base health, so the Mount's base health counts towards Kled's base health, not Kled's bonus health. Any health that Kled purchases will add to Skarl's health and count as bonus health. So I believe this is a nerf, like it's going to nerf the scaling specifically with Sterix. I don't know about anything else that would nerf. Maybe that nerfs Grasp on him. So again, I'm not a Kled expert, but it's basically they're changing it towards base health and not bonus health. So any items that scale with bonus health are not going to scale with him. Now that if he wants to go for some kind of Sheen item, that might be good. I don't know what he would get. I mean, I guess you could get Divine Sunder. I don't think he would go Trinity. It's possible. But anyways, I don't think it's going to affect most of the meta. It's just weird why they're like nerfing Tank Kled when like very few people are playing Tank Kled. And then they're giving him a couple of compensatory buffs here. A little bit more AD scaling on Joust. A little bit more like over here. I think he probably maxes Joust last, right? That's his gap closer. So I don't think this is going to matter that much. So, I don't know. I mean, maybe this will make some kind of AD builds, especially Sheen builds. Kled's base health. Okay. So, yeah, I mean, I don't know. Like I said, maybe Divine Sunder. Go Divine Sunder, Titanic. He does like to go Titanic anyways, I believe, because kind of like with Camille, I think his third or his fourth auto attack with his like Frenzied W, the extra damage also scales with any on-hit damage that you have. So maybe he could do like a Camille here and just go for Divine Sunder into Titanic and just really clap him. With like your empowered strike, and then that would so I don't know, maybe this is actually a buff, and he would still be tanky with that. So I don't know, makes me want to see some Kled action, but unfortunately nobody plays him with that build. So I don't know, that could be pretty decent, at least in theory. But again, I'm not a Kled main. It's just thinking, if they're doing that, if they're making his base health a lot higher, then naturally the first thing you should be thinking is Sheen. And since he has an empowered attack that I believe scales off of Sheen stuff, you're just thinking like, what are the best Sheen items he could get? Probably Divine Sunder, and then what else would go along with that? Probably Titanic. Okay. And then Twitch, Spray and Pray, the distance the bolts travel now scale with his bonus attack range. That's actually pretty big for a few reasons on Twitch. It's similar to Kale, but Twitch actually does get Hurricane a lot. And so I think this is going to increase his Hurricane bolt range. So it makes him a lot better with lethal tempo, and it increases his bolt range. And Twitch is already really good in the meta right now. He's definitely one of my, I don't know if I would have him as a full-on top 5, but he was definitely tier 2. He might be top 5 for next patch. I've seen a lot of really good Twitch play lately. He's quite strong, especially at like Platinum and lower, where people don't respect his invisibility. Okay, Samira, Inferno Trigger. Okay, so her ult doesn't cost any mana. I guess like early on at level 6, if you get multiple resets, maybe you run out of mana, especially if you've been in the laning phase for a while, trading, you're at like half mana. or something like that, and then you pop 6 and decide to go for it. I just don't think it's going to matter that much. I feel like she doesn't have a lot of mana problems. I mean, maybe I'm wrong about that. Again, I don't play this champion a lot. But, I don't know. It just seems like something that is not really what her problem is. Like, she feels pretty bad, and that's weird to me because I felt like she was really OP a few patches ago, but for some reason, it just feels like she has a lot of problems right now. I think a part of that is there's more tanks, so it's harder for her to get resets because, you've got like Mundos, Kenches, Shins, all that stuff running around. Also, people are more spread out because you're seeing the rise of enchanters a lot more, so you're seeing more like Lulu, Sona, Nami, Soraka. All of those champs are becoming a lot more popular, and so people just aren't going to be clumped up as much for you to be able to kill them. And then you're even seeing stuff like Graves, coming back into the meta. He's becoming quite popular in the jungle right now. Yeah, Graves is up there. Kane can get out of her range if he wants to. So Lee can kick her. So there are a lot of things that are like pretty good into her that can either spread out or displace her, or they'll just have a massive shield like Vi, with Sterix plus her passive shield. Or whatever it is, the thing that activates that you're just not going to be able to kill her with your ultimate. So it's just combination big shields, big tanks, and range champs that can get away from her ult, I think have all sort of diminished her power quite a bit. Okay, Urgot. Urgot's passive shotgun now scales the bonus attack range. Okay, so lethal tempo. But why the hell are they buffing all these champs to lethal tempo? I know they're nerfing lethal a little bit on this patch, but I guess just for consistency. Okay. Urgot's like okay. He's kind of out of the meta right now. Probably still not a good idea. Yeah, I mean, they're right. It's probably not. Although, couldn't you charge it up really quickly with your W? I don't know. He probably still wants Conquer, but whatever. It's not going to matter. Okay, now this is a really huge one. Archangel Staff is going from 950 down to 550 with no nerfs. Just straight up. They're removing 400 gold from the cost of this item. Archangel Staff isn't performing well, so we're lowering its cost to help. No, this is a massive, massive lowering of cost. 400? I mean, maybe I wasn't as wrong as I thought I was. Like, I thought that the 2,800 AP items were going to be really good. So I thought specifically that the Everfrost was going to be really good, and then I thought that the Crown would be good in certain situations. Oh, that's very cool. Yeah, that's fun. Okay, why don't you go brush your teeth, and you can go lay down in the other room.
What are those? I already brushed my teeth.
I don't know.
What are those?
I don't know what they are.
Marshmallow?
They might be marshmallow people, yeah. But anyways, this is massive. So who is this going to help? Because you have to keep the context in mind. They're also nerfing Cosmic Drive significantly. So that it's going down 10 AP, 50 health, and the movement speed is going 15% down to 5%. So big, big nerfs. I still think it'll be good, but not as impressive as it can be, or could be. Okay, thank you. And then Crown of the Shattered Queen is getting a light nerf from 70 down to 60. So the thing you want to look for here is which champion is going to use Archangels that does not use Cosmic Drive or Crown of the Shattered Queen a lot of the time, particularly Cosmic Drive. So, and someone who is already pretty strong probably. Can you guess who it is? Kassadin. That's right, it's Kassadin. Kassadin doesn't use Cosmic, and sometimes he uses Shattered Queen, but when I last looked at this, I believe he still favored Ludens, and he already has a 53% win rate. Okay, so he is doing Shattered Queen. I still think I would take that trade-off. I would lose 10 AP to gain 400 cost, because he scales so well with items. I would take that gold any day of the week. I mean, 10 AP by itself is only worth like 220 gold, and you're saving 400 gold on Archangels. And that just allows you to complete items. I mean, being able to complete items, have better back timings, for your item purchases, all that kind of stuff is far more important, I think, than just a little bit of raw stats. So I think gold, just having the raw gold, is usually more valuable than the equivalency, because when you combine items, they're worth so much more than their parts, depending on the passive. And Ludens is like low-key still the highest win rate on him, right? So he can still go Ludens and be successful. Like, Crown is good, but Ludens, very similar. It gives you more burst, it gives you wave clear, and that's something that he really, really wants, is wave clear, because it's very difficult for him to clear waves otherwise. And then even in some AD matchups, because people have thought it's cute, you know, in the past to go for, you know, like running Talon or Zed or something like that into him. Well, now he's just running Frozen Heart a lot of the time. And then I've seen it. It's so hard to kill him when he goes Frozen Heart early on. And then I guess like third item, typically he'll get something else. Eventually he'll get a mythic. The guy that I saw, I think, went Shattered Queen, either second or third. Because, yeah, if you have Frozen Heart plus Shattered Queen, and then you also get Archangels, it's like
my new house, Dad?
Good luck, Zed, or Talon, or whatever. Yeah, that's very cool, Rory.
It's a rock house.
Yep. So, anyways, I think that's a big buff for Kassadin. Big buff for probably Anivia. I think she does like Cosmic, but she might be able to go for some other things. She can go Ludens. Okay, I think she does too. Cassiopeia, again, I don't know. She likes Cosmic, but like Cassiopeia and Rise both like Cosmic. So the Archangels is good. Maybe they could get something other than Cosmic. So I think this will be really good on a handful of champions. I still don't think you want to run this on like Sona. I know people are going to ask about that. I mean, it's possible, but I still think it's a greedy item, and I would rather just have more items that help out your team. Axiom Arc. Okay, they're nerfing this. I think this was fine. Like, there weren't that many AD champs that were, like, turbo abusing this. I don't think. I mean, like, obviously it's, like, good on Zed, Talon, that type of stuff. But if you look at PBI, like, pick ban influence in mid lane, right? Like, none of these champs use it. Like, not even in the top 20, right? I mean, I'm not missing anything. Maybe Akshan? I don't think so, though. He has such a low play rate. I mean, I think a lot of the game right now is being dominated by Victor and Kassadin, and then Lux, to some extent as well, is doing, you know, pretty good. I don't know if Lux gets tier. I don't think she does. Maybe she will now. Who knows? So yeah, I don't see that happening there. And then jungle, again, look at the top PBI junglers. Kha'Zix might get it. I don't think Kha'Zix gets it a lot. If he does, it's going to be late game. Ghostblade. Yeah, like, he can get it, right? He could get it second. He could get it third, but look at these win rates. It's the same thing. Ghostblade has the same win rate.
Anything I can draw on?
I don't know. I have to look around. Go check out your art table. There might be some paper over there. Edge of Night's also really good. Sorelda's is really good. I mean, all of these items are very good on him, so it's like, it's not limiting his build at all. People are probably thinking, you know, immediately thinking Talon and Zed, but they're not that great right now, at least from a PBI perspective. I'm sure there are great players who can win a lot on those champs, but I just don't understand the nerf. Because they're like, it's competing with Ghostblade, it's competing with the bubble item, which is very huge in a lot of matchups. Edge of Night. So I don't know. I don't agree with that one. Ability-based assassins, it's making them too strong, but it's not. Again, this is just people complaining about like the 5 challenger, you know, Talon one-trick players, you know, across all servers or something, right? People love to complain about Talon and challenger, and it's like, I get it, but he sees no play. Rory, Daddy's talking, okay? What is it? Okay, we'll keep looking. So, anyways, I just don't think that it's that big of a deal. I think people are just, again, streamers probably complaining because some Talon went off on him in a challenger game, but he sees no pro play, and he's not that great in lower elos. He's okay. There are good players, but there are a lot of bad players that play Talon too. Okay, Cosmic deserved a nerf. Yeah, it's super obvious. I called this in the preseason. I said it was going to be the most OP item. Is everybody's going to get this item? It's way too strong, and it wasn't quite as apocalyptic as I said it was, but it's very good on a lot of champions. So, this might be too many nerfs, but maybe not. They just need to get rid of this spell dance crap. Like, just do something else with it. I don't know. If they want to, like, they need to decide what is this item. And this has happened a lot throughout the preseason where there's items just have too many random stats that are just too good, right? Like, this almost has, like, mythic level stats, right? In the sense of, like, it's just so many stats that complement each other. It's got ability power. It has haste. It has it's got ability power, haste, health, and movement speed. 4 different things on the same item. That, like, any champ that gets this is going to want that. Like, every mage is going to want it. So there are no trade-offs. So why not just make this, like, the movement speed item, right? So just say this item is going to feature, you know, movement speed and your ability to cast spells, right? So to reposition, to be agile and cast spells. You know what you don't need for that? Health. Take the health off of it. You know what you also don't need for that? Extra AP that procs with the passive. Why do you need that? You don't need that. So I would just double down on, like, what makes this item unique and interesting, and quit giving all these items just well-rounded generic stats like health. Health is the most generic stat in the game. It's like everybody likes health. But so you shouldn't just give it out. I don't know. I think that just too many items are just giving out free health right now. Because in my mind, like, champions, like a healthy version of this is it helps ranged champions kite a little bit better if they want to be able to reposition in fights. So like a Cassiopeia, a Rise, an Azir, something like that. And so I would keep this movement speed. I would not keep it the entire time. Like, I would not give them 15% forever. I think that's the toughest part, is it says until combat ends. So this thing, you know, the movement speed could be up for 20 seconds if you're chasing people down and stuff like that, and you're still hitting them every, like, 5 seconds and staying in combat. So just make it proc for, like, 5 seconds or something. That's still a long time. And just give it more movement speed. Like, just give it 20% flat non-decaying movement speed or something like that for 5 seconds when you proc it. And then just get rid of the health and, you know, just let it keep 75 ability power or something like that. And just get rid of the AP proc on this. That's what I would do, is just, like, tune back the proc, just get rid of the health, and just double down on this is an AP item that allows you to move. So anyways, but they're doing this. They're just nerfing everything generically about it. People still get it probably, but it's not going to be as good. Shattered Queen, taken off 70. I still think it'll be a good item, but I think the damage reduction is just way too high. I think it should be like 50%. 50% would still be really good, but 75% is just basically like you're just immune to damage. It just, like, completely destroys assassins. So I think it's just a little too good in that sense. Maybe they could make it 50% and have it last a little bit longer, like maybe 2 seconds instead of 1.5 seconds, maybe 2.5 seconds. That might be too much, but I think just, again, make it a little bit less extreme. Make it less of a, you know, complete destruction of assassins, and make it, like, good against assassins, but also be kind of good against, you know, some other champs too, some other rotations. So anyways, but they're just doing the obvious thing, so that's fine. Taking off 10 AP. Even Shroud. Why are they nerfing this? So many champs don't even use this. Like, I mean, it's okay. Again, it's like, it's okay. It's not terrible, but it's not that much better. First of all, the champs that would want that aren't even really in the meta right now, right? Like your Leonas, your Nautiluses, all that stuff. If you look at the PBI, they are dramatically underperforming a lot of other stuff in the meta, right? So we've got Leona way down here at 50% win rate. And it's like, yeah, she gets Even Shroud, but, like, what's the difference between Even Shroud and Locket? Okay, there is a significant difference there, right? So it's like 3%. But the champ is weak right now for most people. Again, you know, maybe I don't have access to scrims. She is a champion that has been pretty good in pro, but it's like, I'll say she's been popular in pro. But if you go back and look at the last Worlds, right, like, I don't remember what her actual win rate is, but I feel like it was pretty atrocious by the end of the tournament. Yeah, I mean, look at this. It's like, that's what people are probably thinking of. She was the most picked support in pro, but look at that win rate. 34% win rate on the most picked support. And then Rakan was the second most picked support with a 62% win rate. Don't nerf Rakan, though. He's fine. He's bad. He's C tier. Rakan's terrible. I'll just try to, you know, do my best impression of every other tier list maker. But anyways, yeah. So I just don't like it. Like, oh, just these. You need a good item. On the, like, Moonstone is really, really strong right now. I mean, like, Soraka and Sona are like 54%. Shirelia's is still pretty good. So, like, you got to give them something, man. Just let them have Even Shroud. It's fine. So, again, this might be, like, challenger players or streamers or something complaining about that item, but the truth is the champs that use it just aren't that great in this meta. At least. Now, people in pro probably are not going to be playing Soraka and Sona, right, in challenger. I mean, I guess we could look at challenger here. I mean, Rakan is the top, so doesn't use it. I mean, Rakan can use it, but I personally feel like Shirelia's is a lot better on him. I've tried it. It does have a higher win rate, but it's a really low sample size. And when you start looking at Challenger, they're always going to have like 60% win rate because they're playing down a lot of times against Diamond just because there aren't enough Challengers. So they're basically smurfing every game. That's why a lot of Challengers always have, like, if you're thinking, why does every Challenger have a 55 to 60% win rate? It's because they're not playing against their peers most of the time. They're playing against people that are lower ranked than they are. It's because there aren't enough of their peers. There's only 100. So anyways, I just think that it's, I don't know. I don't like the nerf. I think that it's fine. A lot of the champions that want this are either out of the meta right now in terms of win rate, or they are they have alternatives like Rakan. Okay, Frostfire. This it probably needs to be nerfed. A lot of those tanks, Mundo, Tomkins, Shen, and top lane are, you know, getting a little strong. They have a really high win rate right now, so nerfing it down a little bit here I think is fine. They're still going to be very tanky. They're still going to do, you know, a decent chunk of damage. I think that's fine. Okay, Conquer, and I don't want this to be too long. It's already been way longer than I wanted it to be. Conquer, okay, they're buffing Conquer, but why though? I mean, I know that lethal tempo is good. Almost nobody gets fleets. I don't know what they're talking about there. There's like a handful of champions get fleet. A grasp is, I guess, a legit thing, but is Conquer that bad? Like, I mean, I guess like they want to have more play against tanks. Camille is gonna get PTA, right? Press the attack. Oh, or grasp. Okay, grasp makes sense too. So grasp. Shen's gonna be grasp. Kench. All the tanks are gonna be grasp, obviously. Okay, I mean, there aren't that many Conquer users, I guess, to be fair. Jax, Urgot, Garen. There are some. I guess that's fine. I mean, it's not a massive buff to begin with. I guess that's okay. I mean, I don't know. It's just still annoying, like the Conquer, Gore Drinker, Sterix package, but at the end of the day, you know, really, if we're just looking at the stats, a lot of the top end champions aren't taking that package right now. Then if we look in the jungle, yeah, same drill. Kha'Zix, I think he actually runs Dark Harvest. So, okay, fine. Glacial Augment is the best keystone for many tanks by a large margin. Are you sure, bro? Which tanks are they talking about? Because we just saw a grasp on... So if you're talking about Big Daddy tanks, they're going to be taking grasp. I'm like 99% sure. Like, these guys are all grasp. Malphite's almost certainly grasp. So when they say tanks, I think they mean supports. And again, why are you nerfing support tanks? Because they're really weak right now in most elo brackets compared to other champs. Right? It's like, again, why are we nerfing Leona? She's got a 50% win rate. Even in pro or whatever, she had a really low win rate. So it's like, yeah, Leona's probably pretty good with that item instead of Aftershock, but or with that rune. $51 versus Aftershock 50.7. Oh my god. 0.5% by a large margin. It's like, come on, man. Again, I don't play those champs a lot. I'm just trying to talk strictly from a balancing, perspective. It's that I've tried that rune. People have said, try it on Janna, try it on some of these other champs. I did not. I feel like Aerie was just a lot better. Or Guardian. I mean, mathematically, yeah, Aerie's better. Guardian is exactly the same, so it does not matter on Janna. So I don't know who they're talking about that's like hard dominating with that rune. So Leona gets it. Alistar probably gets it. I don't know. Nautilus might be too squishy to get it. Yeah, Nautilus has to have Aftershock, I'm pretty sure. So Nautilus is it? I mean, it's the same thing. I mean, maybe it's people that have seen Helicopter winning games with it or something. Again, I feel like this is being balanced around a handful of challenger players. These champs did not do super well at pro, like I just said a second ago, So it's like, all right, who's going to take that? Leona? Nami's not taking it. Rakan's not taking it. Yumi's not taking it. I just don't think it's affecting pro that much. It's like, it's basically like Alistar and Leona, and neither one of those are, again, super oppressive right now. They're okay. Aftershock is still better on Alistar. It's still more popular. 4 times as many people buy it. 4.5. And it has 0.1% of a win rate higher. So what are they talking about? It's not that much better on Leona. It's not better, period, on Alistar statistically. It's like some people, like Helicopter, might make it work, but you're nerfing the rune that some lower level tanks play, which is not even that much better than the other ones. It just gives them an option for different kinds of team comps or different playstyles or whatever, and they need help. Leona's 4% less win rate right now than Sona and Soraka. And again, I would be much more likely to play something like a Sona or a Soraka than a Leona right now. So if anything, I'm biased the other way. But I'm trying to be fair here. Like, tanks need some freaking help, man. And so I don't know why they're nerfing this. It's not used in any other lane. All the other big tanks are going to take grasp. All the top lane tanks are going to take grasp. So this is specifically for supports, I feel. There might be 1 or 2 champs, in other roles that use it, but it's basically supports. And it's a cool item. It's new. It opens up different build paths. I don't like it. It was a diverse rune, and it's not that oppressive. So I don't know where they're getting this large margin, who they're looking at to get this data. But to me, it doesn't make a lot of sense. Lethal tempo. Melee attack is going up to 78% total. Range attack speed per stack. Wait, what? Okay, so they're increasing the ranged attack speed, but they're lowering the range to 75. That's probably not worth, like, that's a nerf, but it's not that bad of a nerf, I don't think. I mean, losing 12%, I still think it's pretty dang good. So for melees, they keep their range, but they lose their attack speed, and for ranged champions, they get more attack speed but lose some of their range. I still think it's really good. I mean, I don't think it was like a press. I think there was a good mixture where you could go lethal tempo or you could go press the attack on some champions. It depended, like Twitch or something like that. It depended on the thing, but I think a lot of people were going lethal, and I think it was pretty good. So, especially still good on ranged, right? I mean, let me look at the stats here and see. I think with Vayne, PTA was pretty close. Again, I know we're basically at time, but I just want to give you guys some statistical feedback here. So yeah, she was going lethal already, the highest win rate champion in ADC. Lethal was already 0.8% higher. I feel like I see a lot of people going lethal tempo, just anecdotally. Jinx, obviously going to go lethal. Big buff with Hurricane now, with lethal tempo, and her rockets. Her rockets give her extra range too. So that's the fact that wait, they only changed that on Twitch and Kale, I guess. They did not change that on Jinx. As far as like how the extra range interacts with Hurricane bolts and things like that. But Jinx still pretty good. She uses it. Ashe probably uses it. Cogmoss certainly uses it. Jin's not going to use it, but he's also, you know, just never would use it. He's going to take something else instead. So I feel like most champs that had a chance to take other things, they're gonna, if lethal tempo is on the table, they're going to take lethal tempo. I feel like Twitch, is he still PTA? Okay, Twitch is PTA. How bad is lethal tempo on him? A little bit worse. Okay. So maybe this helps Twitch a little bit, but again, they're saying like failing to fulfill for ranged users. No. Like Twitch, yeah, it's a little bit worse on Twitch, but like it's still fine on him. He's okay. Like he's not having that hard of a time. I don't know. I feel like they're a little out of touch with a couple of these, like especially statistically. It's like, dude, we have access to stats. You know, I know they probably have more accurate stats. They obviously do, one way or another. But I feel like a lot of this is just kind of like whispers, like just backdoor dealings. Like, hey, man, buff, you know, like double lift coming in or something. Hey, man, buff up lethal tempo a little bit. I want to win some more on Jinx. You know, not to be like too conspiratorial, right? I don't think it's like a specific player, right? But, or it's just like, you know, Tower 1 saying, you need to nerf Glacial Augment. Helicopter's running around. He's killing too many people with it. You know, it's just stuff like that. I just feel like that's what it is. It's just like these backdoor dealings because it just doesn't make any statistical sense. Or like Kled. It's like some developer got stomped by Kled in silver or something. I know that's like a meme. But anyway, it just feels really weird. Predator, another one. And I've looked this up before. Kind of weird. Like, they are turbo nerfing Predator. They're taking it from 60% down to 45 with the ramp up time of 1.5. It's like, what is their explanation for this? It's undercutting counterplay. We're reverting this change. Like, which champion is abusing this? I know there are a couple that are using this, but right? I mean, you have the usual suspects, right? Like the standard people that would use something like this. Like, I think Singed, but he's got a 50% win rate. It's obviously going to get it. You look at something like Hecarim. Okay, 51% win rate. You're not seeing it on stuff like Alistar. We just saw that he's going the Frozen thing. I mean, some mages, like maybe Victor or something. It says he's using Aerie. Just for better poke in lane. It's like, okay, Aerie has a higher win rate than Predator, and no one even gets that on Victor. I think, like, maybe Anivia. Just so she could roam or reposition a little bit more. Okay, so she takes Predator, but... like 1% better than Electrocute. So it's a little bit better than Electrocute. But like, I know there are some people that are getting this. I know there are some junglers that are getting it too, but to me, it just doesn't feel that oppressive, right? I feel like most of these champs that if they do take Predator, they can take something else too and be like still successful. So I don't know why they're nerfing at 45%. Again, I think that opened up options that were pretty cool with Predator. Like you have Notice, like Poppy was taking Predator, but you know, a lot of these champs, they aren't the things that are hyper dominating the meta, right? If we look at the junglers right now, I don't think any of these are taking Predator. Maybe Nunu, but when I looked at Nunu, like that wasn't even his highest win rate rune. I think he was taking Phase Rush. Yeah. Poppy's 52% win rate. So like these top level champs, just Rory, I don't know, honey. I don't know where they are. PTA. So yeah, again, it's like top level champs not taking it. Maybe in Challenger there's some annoying things going on, but if we looked over there, it's probably a similar story. So I think just a lot of this, for how quantitative they've said they want to be with a lot of their nerfs, a lot of this feels qualitative. A lot of it just feels like, you know, they're just reading Twitter, people complaining about these things, or Reddit posts, or, you know, they're watching some streams or something of some Challenger players that get on their soapbox about certain things. It just doesn't feel like that grounded in reality. So, yeah, kind of a bummer patch, in my opinion, just because a lot of these changes are taking away things that were cool, that were some of the more recent changes they made, and they're just flipping on them in one patch for no reason. At least no quantitative reason. These champs aren't out of control. Again, I don't have a horse in the race. They're not nerfing anything that I play. But it just, I like diversity. I like people being able to choose these different runes and having different play styles. And both of these opened that up. Like Predator and Glacial got people into different rune trees to think about different combinations, created different kinds of play styles with meaningful trade-offs that were interesting, right? If you take Glacial instead of Aftershock, you're going to have the extra CC, but you're not going to be as tanky, right? Because the ice doesn't reduce the damage on you, it's only on your teammates. So that is good. That's good balance. You have a trade-off. You don't get everything you want on one item or on one rune. You have to make a decision. Do I want to be tankier, personally, or do I want to help my allies, you know, with the CC and reducing the damage they take? Is it worth it to lose the stuff in the Aftershock tree? Do I want to give up conditioning? Do I want to give up, you know, some of the other runes in that tree in order to take stuff in the inspiration tree? Would I rather have Hex Flash than conditioning? Are biscuits worth it? You know, these are all like interesting questions that kind of come up when you're doing this. And I know because I was trying these runes out for a while, and it was really fun to try to find the right combination. So it opened up a lot of new things. And then you have to think about, okay, well, if I take that, you know, on Rakan, for example, I'm going to be personally squishier. So does that mean that I have to take something like Zeke's more often than getting something like Putrefier's second item, because I need to be able to compensate for the fact that I'm going to be squishier, right? So it forced you to kind of rearrange your entire ecosystem on some champs to compensate for the fact that you're losing the tankiness. So I think it was really cool. It was really interesting, and there's just not a statistical reason to nerf this crap most of the time. It's a lot of just overblown people complaining about stuff that's not that statistically significant. Or even Shroud. This is another thing on Rakan where I was trying it out. It didn't end up being better than Shirelia's, but it was interesting. If I wanted more damage, I could consider that. The problem with that was you didn't have any mana regen, so you like went really fast in early skirmishes. And so you had to take Frostfang, and that made it harder to stack up your ward item. So it gave you some cool stuff, but then it had trade-offs, and you don't get the movement speed that you have with Shirelia's, which is really big. You don't get the AP, which means your shields are going to be weaker. Your all-in is going to do less damage. So it was all of these interesting trade-offs.
There's a new bunny baby.
Okay. And then you don't get Locket as well. You don't get the shield. So, I don't know. This is actually good game design. This is good. Okay, thank you. Okay, thank you. This is actually good game design. And they're nerfing it, which, you know, is really annoying that the times when they're getting it right, when they're doing good stuff, when they're creating diversity, when they're creating interesting build paths, those are the things they're nerfing. And they're not nerfing the other crap that is just too good, that has just too many stats on it, in my opinion. So, anyways, kind of lame, but it's okay. I mean, they did get some stuff right. Like, they are nerfing Camille, and that's good. You know, they're buffing Ivor, and I think that's good. But some of these, a lot of these are just weird. It just feels really out of touch with the meta and what's going on. But anyways, that's going to be it. Thank y'all very much. A lot longer than I intended it to be, but hopefully I gave you some good information. Be sure to like and subscribe if you enjoy the content. Come by, check us out on Twitch. We'd love to have you. And I'll see you next time. Have a good day.